Hello to my beautiful friends and welcome to a new video. So, I was trying to think of something relaxing to record. My actual life has been incredibly stressful lately, just full of the worst things, and I wanted to record something for you guys, and I kept getting distracted. I don't know how many of you have this urge when you're supposed to be doing something else to go and read random wiki articles or random Reddit articles about just the craziest things that have nothing to do with what you're supposed to be doing. So I thought two birds, one stone. I will take you guys through a Wikipedia article with me. It's kind of a silly idea, but you know what? I don't care. I want to do it, and I thought it would be kind of fun. So, since I've been obsessed with learning about new potential pet like creatures and other things lately, I thought that I would start with the one about the axolotl here in Wikipedia. So, I tend to trust Wikipedia as a pretty good source for information. I know things on Wikipedia can technically be incorrect or maybe not properly researched, whatever and whatnot. But you know what? We're going to go through this and we're going to learn because an attempt at learning is better than just saying you don't know anything about axolotls. So, yeah, we're going to educate ourselves together. Now, there are a lot of words in here since I know axolotls come from Mexico or like Aztec culture. There are a lot of words that I'm not going to say properly just to go ahead and prepare you for that. We're just reading through this together. And I'll offer commentary when I think commentary fits. So let's just kind of like hang out and relax. I think that sounds great, don't you? Yes. Okay. I'll pretend you said yes. I'm imagining that you said yes. It's almost as good as you actually saying yes. It's in my brain. Okay. So, axolotl on Wikipedia. I made an account for this too. I have one. I don't know if I'm gonna do anything with it. But let's see, let's see. And I changed my mouse to an axolotl too. It's really cute. So, the axolotl from classic Nahuatl is a species of mole salamander. They're neotenic, fully maturing without undergoing metamorphosis, and adults remain fully aquatic with obvious external gills. So, yeah, they stay in sort of their larval state for their whole lives, essentially. And they live underwater and they're really, really cute. And yeah, we're gonna learn more about them. I'm so excited. Axolotls may be difficult to distinguish from the larval stage of other neotenic adult mole salamanders, such as the tiger salamander. Oh, he's so cute. Look at his little face, the tiger salamander, or other species such as mud puppies. You know, I've not heard of a mud puppy before. I've heard of mud skippers. If you haven't seen mud skippers, they're super heckin' cute little I don't know if they're fish or not, but they look like fish and they can like skip on mud and like walk on mud. It's really cute. You should look them up if you haven't seen them before. But mud puppies, those are another type of aquatic salamanders. Those are so cute. I like the little face of the tiger salamander though. He looks like a little Pokemon. Those big beady eyes. Okay, so axolotls don't undergo metamorphosis. Let's see. They originally inhabited a system of interconnected wetlands and lakes in the highlands of Mexico. They were known to inhabit the smaller lakes of Xochimilco or Xochimilco. I don't know how to say that, but that's a really cool word. And Chalco, and are presumed to have inhabited the larger lakes of Texcoco and Zumpango. I love these words. These are top tier name of places words. These are fun. The desiccation of these lakes, initiated by the Aztecs and accelerated during the 20th century, has led to the destruction of much of the axolotl's natural habitat, an area now largely occupied by Mexico City. Oh, that's right. Remember hearing that in nature, like a lot of the habitats for axolotls are being destroyed or polluted or changed because there's not very many places that they live in the wild. With the introduction of invasive species such as tilapia and carp, wild axolotls are now near extinction. The species has been listed as critically endangered with a decreasing population of around 50 to 1,000 adult individuals by the International Union for Conservation of Nature and is listed under Appendix 2 of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. 50 to 1,000 adult axolotls in the wild. 1,000 might seem like a big number when you're like a little kid, but then once you hit adulthood, like 1,000 is not much for anything. I mean, $1,000 can be helpful, but it can't really pay rent most places, or at least not here in the US. But if you were being attacked by 1,000 male gorillas, like that's a lot. So I guess it depends, but 1,000 axolotls in the wild is not very much. A large captive population of axolotls currently exists, with specimens used extensively in scientific research for the remarkable ability to regenerate parts of their bodies, including limbs, gills, and parts of their eyes and brains. Oh, I didn't know that they did this. So they're used for scientific research because they can regenerate. They're also used as model organisms. What does that mean? A model organism is a non-human species that is extensively studied to understand a particular biological phenomena. They provide insight into the workings of other organisms. Oh, okay. I wonder if that would apply to, like, you know how they use rats in like some laboratories or laboratory labs. I'm not sure the way you're supposed to like actually say that word. I like to say laboratory. Like it sounds really cool. Like library, but you should just say like library. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but I did not know that about them. As aquarium technology has developed, axolotls have become a common exhibit in zoos and public aquariums. Oh, that looks like the Georgia Aquarium. And as an occasional pet in home aquariums. Axolotls are also a popular subject in contemporary culture, inspiring a number of works and characters in the media. Yeah, like in Minecraft. Some of you guys may have learned about axolotls' existence from like Minecraft or cartoons, because I feel like they are more popular in pop culture lately and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people get them as like pets. I would love an axolotl someday, but I feel like my tree house is in an apartment. Lore break. Um, and I don't know. I don't want to set up like a fish tank ecosystem in an apartment because I feel like when you're in an apartment, you move a lot because prices change and things change. And once I set up an environment for like an aquatic creature, I don't want to have to like reset it up because I feel like, I don't know, it stresses them out. So yeah, I don't have any axolotls yet, but I feel like I'd love to have one someday if I could provide a proper home to them, you know? Nomenclature. I love that word. So the term axolotl is a Nahuatl word that has been translated variably as water slave, water servant, water sprite, water player, water monstrosity, water twin, or water dog. The word refers to Solano or Cholano, the Aztec god who holds dominion over fire, lightning, the dead, and the resurrected, dogs, games, grotesque or ugly beings, and twins, as he is the twin of Quetzalcoatl. Oh, I've heard of Quetzalcoatl before, referenced in like games or like Isn't there a Shin Megami Tensei or Persona demon based off of this? With this exact name or something similar? I feel like that. But interesting. So there's a lot of different translations for what the name means. I don't care for water slave or water servant, but water sprite or water dog, I could definitely see those applying to axolotls. Because they're like these little guys. So sprite, like a fairy, and water dogs, they kind of look like lumpy puppies, I guess. I guess that could work. Some sources prefer the term Mexican axolotl to refer to the species unambiguously, as axolotl may be used for unmetamorphosized individuals of other Abystoma species. Abystoma, I think stoma has something to do with the stomach. I could be wrong, but that is my guess. Although the word is most commonly used to refer to wild A. mexicanum and capped individuals. Okay, so basically, axolotl has a lot of words or meanings within it, and it came from an Aztec god and Mexico. Very cool. I like it. Axolotl is a very fun word to say too, and it's a very fun word to learn how to spell properly. So, down to the description. A sexually mature adult axolotl at age 18 to 27 months ranges in length from 15 to 45 centimeters, 6 to 18 inches for us Americans. A size close to 23 centimeters or 9 inches is most common, and any greater than 30 centimeters or a foot is rare. So they don't typically get as big as a foot long or larger. So they're on the smaller size. Axolotls possess features typical of salamander larvae, including external gills, a caudal fin extending from behind the head to the vent. Behind the head to the vent. I wonder if the caudal fin is this one then? Like these little antennas? I'm not sure, but that's what I'm guessing so far. Unlike most salamander species, axolotls retain their external gills when they mature into adulthood. This is a type of neoteny. Neoteny. Let's learn this word together. I'm gonna give you guys a quiz. Not really, but maybe I should. Neoteny, also called juvenilization, is the delaying or slowing of the physiological or somatic development of an organism, typically an animal. Neoteny in modern humans is more significant than in other primates. Oh, it's like the slowing down of development. Huh, okay. Slowing down of development. Juvenilization. Okay, I'm starting to get it. I'm not really that great at science, but I feel like with biology, I'm like kind of on the fence. What about you? Are you any good with science? I know I'm really bad at chemistry. I have like a chemistry horror story I can tell you guys sometime if you're ever interested to hear it. Axolotls have wide heads and lidless eyes. Their limbs are underdeveloped and possess long, thin digits. 3 pairs of external gill stalks, or rami. Oh, that's what those are called. Okay. Originate behind their head and are used to move oxygenated water. Okay. So that's what those are called. External gill stalks. Those are those like cute little things on the side of their head, and they are absolutely adorable. They're so stinking cute. So stinking cute. I love them. These are lined with filaments to increase surface area for gas exchange. 4 gill slits lined with gill rakers are hidden underneath the external gills, which prevent food from entering and allow particles to filter through. Males can be identified by their swollen cloacae. Cloaca? Is that cloaca? A cloaca. Oh, okay, there's different spellings. Cloaca or cloacae or vent. While females have wider bodies when gravid and full of eggs. Gravid are the number of gravidity is the number of times a female has been pregnant. Oh, okay. So basically when she's like fertile and like ready. ready to make babies. It's when she's gravid. Okay, so you can sex them reasonably well. Very cool. Axolotls have barely visible vestigial teeth. What kind of teeth are those? That's a very complicated word. The retention during the process of evolution of structures that have lost some of their function. Oh, that means they don't really have a purpose. They're not useful. Oh. I wonder if this word could also have something to do with like our appendix or whatnot, or tonsils. Things people get removed that don't seem to really affect their quality of life when gone. No idea. No idea, just a guess. Other salamanders only developed these teeth during metamorphosis. Their primary method of feeding is by suction, during which their rakers interlock to close their gill slits. Axolotls use their external gills for respiration, buccal pumping, gulping air from the surface, may also be used to provide oxygen to their lungs. So when they go up and they're like, home, home, their mouth. Buccal pumping can occur in a 2-stroke manner, pumping air from the mouth to the lungs, or a 4-stroke manner, reversing this pathway using compression forces. I have no real idea what that means, but I know like buccal or buccal, I think, may also be how it's said. I'm not sure. That's that cheek surgery a lot of like celebrities were getting for a while. Like I think it's pronounced buckle, but I could be wrong. Where they take the fat out of their cheeks and it makes their face all like slim looking, but also kind of crypt keeper looking. I'm not a big fan myself. I think round faces are very cute, but I could be biased also because I have like cheeks for days, forever, my whole life, my big chungus life. The wild type animal, the natural form, is brown or tan with gold speckles and olive undertone. They also possess the ability to subtly alter their color by changing the relative size and thickness of their melanophores, cells that produce color. Oh, I wonder if this is how like octopi change color. I don't know, but it's similar. Like they can change the size and thickness of these dots, like shift in color. But I know octopi can change very drastically their color, so I don't know if it's the same thing, but it is interesting how it's quite similar. They do this for camouflage. Axolotls have 4 pigmentation genes. When mutated, they create different color variants. The 5 most common are below. So, leucistic is pale pink with black eyes. So, I think it's closer to like this kind because this one has black eyes. I think the leucistic ones are really popular on like social media. I think if you look at my mouse, I believe that's what this is supposed to be. Then they've got xanthic, which is gray with black eyes. That's what it says for specifically for the axolotl. Albinistic, pale pink or white with red eyes, meaning like albino. And that kind of coloration can occur in humans too, which is really cool. And then melanistic, all black or dark blue with no gold speckling or olive tone. Melanistic. I think that root word comes from like melanin. So like if you have freckles, you have melanin. If you've got dark skin, you have more melanin. If I'm correct on that. And yeah, okay. So like pink, gray, albino, and then dark in color. Very nice, very nice. In addition, there is a wide individual variability in the size, frequency, and intensity of the gold speckling. And at least one variant leads to the development of a black and white piebald appearance upon reaching maturity. Oh, piebald is like a pattern of spots. It's like a black and white horse or a black and white dog. The animal's skin under the white background is not pigmented. Okay, cool. Yeah, piebald. I know you can get piebald like um snakes, like pythons and stuff like that. I've seen those and they're very pretty, very unique patterns. Because pet breeders frequently cross the variant colors, double homozygous, I think I got that one right. Mutants are common in the pet trade, especially white pink animals with pink eyes that are double homozygous mutants for both the albino and leucistic genes. Yes, I feel proud for reading that sentence. The 32 billion base pair long sequence of the axolotl's genome was published in 2018. It was the largest animal genome completed at the time. It revealed species specific genetic pathways that may be responsible for limb regeneration. Although the axolotl genome is about 10 times as large as the human genome, it encodes a similar number of proteins. So they have 23,251 proteins, and humans have about 20,000. The size difference is mostly explained by a large fraction of repetitive sequences. These also contribute to increased median intron sizes, which are 13, 16, and 25 times that observed in humans, mice, and Tibetan frogs, respectively. So, admittedly, I don't have a full understanding of what this means at all, but the number is over 9,000, so therefore, I am quite impressed. So, physiology. Okay, we get to learn about the regeneration ability. This kind of makes an axolotl sound like, I don't know if there's like a My Hero Academia character that has axolotl powers, but I feel like it would be a really good fit. Or an axolotl VTuber with like an epic backstory of healing after a great war or battle from like a mythical land that they lived in. I think that'd be kind of cool. So, regeneration. The feature of the axolotl that attracts most attention is its healing ability. The axolotl does not heal by scarring, but is capable of tissue regeneration. Entire lost appendages, such as limbs and the tail, can regrow over a period of months, and in certain cases, more vital structures, such as tissues of the eye and heart, can be regrown. They can even restore parts of their central nervous system, such as less vital parts of their brains. Moreover, they can readily accept transplants from other individuals, including eyes and parts of the brain, restoring these alien organs to full functionality. In special cases, axolotls have been known to repair a damaged limb while also regenerating an additional one, ending up with an extra appendage, which makes them attractive to pet owners as a novelty. Oh, so like an axolotl could lose an arm, start healing the part of the arm that's left, and then also generate an extra one. That's really cute. You could end up as like an axolotl that's got like extra arms or extra toes or maybe an extra tail or something like that. It's a neat idea, but being able to regenerate is such a cool concept. I wonder if through study we could ever do things like that for humans. I wonder what that would look like in practice. I have no idea. There are three basic requirements for regeneration of a limb: the wound, epithelium, a protective layer of cells. Okay. Nerve signaling, so your nerves being like, hey, you need to fix this. And the presence of cells from the different limb axes. A wound epidermis, so epidermis is your skin or tissue, is quickly formed by the cells to cover up the site of the wound. On the following days, the cells of the wound epidermis divide and grow, quickly forming a blastema. Blastema? Which means the wound is ready to heal and undergo patterning to form the new limb. It's believed that during limb generation, axolotls have different systems to regulate their internal microphage levels and suppress inflammation. As scarring prevents proper healing and regeneration. However, this belief has been questioned by other studies. So it seems like we don't fully understand this process based on that. And they have things that basically tell their body not to scar because you can't regenerate if you're scarring. Interesting. Okay. Like I have scars on my body that have just like been around since I was little because I was a clumsy kid and medical things like that. But so you don't want a scar so you can regenerate in their case. Ooh, let's try this one. The apical ectodermal ridge, I know dermal means skin, a fundamental growth structure with the apical ectodermal cap is one of the few things given credit for the axolotl's ability to regenerate whole limbs in early development. The apical ectodermal ridge is a structure in embryos that starts the growth of appendages by signaling how they are shaped and extended. These cells are needed to form limbs in most tetrapods, amphibians, and humans. Unlike most other animals, the AEC in the axolotl is able to send signals through growth hormones to activate blastema cells, which can rebuild whole, amputated, or damaged limbs or organs. Axolotls also experience indeterminate growth, meaning their bodies continue to grow throughout their life. Some consider this trait to be a direct contributor to their regenerative abilities. Their ability to regenerate declines with age but does not disappear, though in metamorphosed individuals, the ability to regenerate is greatly diminished. Okay, so I'm hoping we can learn more about it, but to my understanding, I think what this is saying, to my understanding, is I've seen people online on social media who have axolotls, and something about their care or something they did, the axolotls end up morphing into a more land-based looking salamander. And at this point, I don't know if that is something that happens to axolotls or if it's a different creature. I have no idea. So I'm interested to find out about that. I don't know if you've ever seen a metamorphosized axolotl, but they're just like these chunky, dark colored salamanders, and they're really cute. But like I said, I don't know if they're actually axolotls or if there's something else. Like the beginning of the wiki article was saying sometimes axolotls get confused with other things. But maybe we'll be able to find out in this. Neoteny. Okay. Most amphibians begin their lives as aquatic animals unable to live on dry land, often called tadpoles. Tadpoles are so stinking cute. I love the fat ones the best. To reach adulthood, they go through a process called metamorphosis, in which they lose their gills and start living on land. The axolotl is unusual in that it has a lack of thyroid stimulating hormone. Oh, me too, because I have Hashimoto's, so yo, twinning with axolotls, which is needed for the thyroid to produce thyroxine. I take levothyroxine every morning for my thyroid. Yo, okay, but mine's called levothyroxine. I don't know how that's different than thyroxine, but they're very similar. For the axolotl to go through metamorphosis, it keeps its gills and lives in water all of its life, even after it becomes an adult and is able to reproduce. This trait, reaching sexual maturity without undergoing metamorphosis, is called neoteny. So basically reaching adulthood without a metamorphosizing transformation. That's what neoteny is. The genes responsible for neoteny in laboratory axolotls may have been identified. They are not linked to the genes of wild populations, suggesting artificial selection is the cause of complete neoteny in labs and pets. Oh, wait. Artificial selection is the cause of. Does that mean sometimes in the wild they will metamorphosize to a different form? Oh, yeah, guys, look, this picture. This is. Okay, we're gonna get here, but this is what I was talking about. Where you can see some that turn out looking like this. So I guess they're saying, like, based on how we've bred them, usually they don't do this in captivity. But maybe they do in the wild at times. The genes responsible have been narrowed down to a small chromosomal region called MET1, which contains several candidate genes. Many other species within the axolotl's genus are either entirely neotenic or of neotenic populations. Sirens. Sirens are a family of neotenic aquatic salamanders. So we know that means they don't go through that metamorphosis, but they can still have babies without changing their form. But these are called sirens. That's cool. It looks like an underwater snake. And Nectarus mud puppies, which we heard about before, and the troglobitic alm. What is an alm? It's not opening the page for me. Let me see. Oh, it's like a wormy thing. Oh no. Look at him. Look at the little that looks weird. That looks like I don't cottage cheese and scrambled eggs. I'm gonna close him out. Okay, so those are other examples of neotenic salamanders. Unlike axolotls, they cannot be induced to metamorphose by an injection of iodine or thyroxine hormone. Okay, got it. Right, so here's the metamorphosis bit. The axolotl has, over evolutionary time, lost the ability to naturally undergo metamorphosis. It still retains the capacity to undergo metamorphosis if provided with the necessary hormones through artificial administration. Under modern laboratory conditions, metamorphosis is reliably induced by administering thyroid hormones, including thyroxine, triiodothyronine, or thyroid stimulating hormones. Depending on what hormone is used for induction, different outcomes may occur. Some hormones, such as triiodothyronine, can promote regenerative abilities, while in some cases failing to produce complete metamorphosis. In contrast, thyroxine can inhibit regenerative abilities and accelerate metamorphosis. After an axolotl undergoes hormonally induced metamorphosis and begins living on land, it experiences a number of physiological changes that help it adapt to a terrestrial life. So yeah, these don't live in water. If they metamorphosize, that's why if one metamorphosized within a home environment and you were not aware, it would be bad because you keep it underwater. It's not going to be able to breathe under the water after it undergoes this change, so it's going to need a different environment entirely. Kind of like when you go from a tadpole to a frog. These include increased muscle tone in limbs, so it gets nice and buff, resorption of gills and fins into the body, the development of eyelids, and a reduction in the skin's permeability to water, allowing the axolotl to remain more effectively hydrated on land. The lungs of an axolotl, though present alongside gills after reaching a non-metamorphosed adulthood, develop further during metamorphosis. Axolotls that complete metamorphosis resemble adult plateau tiger salamanders, though axolotls have longer toes. Here, I'll click on this one for you. Look. See, because they look kind of silly, don't they? But I think they're cute. They kind of look like mud spills, like mud slicks a little bit. Because they have such a dark color, but like a very gooey texture. I think they're very cute. In the absence of induced metamorphosis, larval axolotls begin absorbing iodide, not instead of iodine, iodide, into their thyroid glands at around 30 days post-fertilization. Larval axolotls do produce thyroid hormones from iodide, but the amount appears highly variable. In contrast, adult axolotls do not produce detectable levels of thyroid hormone unless metamorphosis is triggered. There we go. So I was right that there was another form, but it's just not very common that this happens. And I guess people in labs have to induce it to occur. Very interesting. Yeah, I think I like the larval, like the traditional axolotl form better, but I do still think that they're very cute when they look like this. All right, wild population. Axolotls are within the same genus as tiger salamanders, which we've learned about, being a part of its species complex, along with other Mexican species of Ambystoma. Within Ambystoma today, okay, that's a family of salamanders. That's all that word means. The closest relative of the axolotl is the eastern tiger salamander, these cutie pies. Their habitat is like that of most neotenic Ambystoma species, high altitude body of water surrounded by risky terrestrial environment, with these conditions thought to favor the development of the Neoteny. However, a population of terrestrial Mexican tiger salamanders occupies and breeds in the axolotl's habitat. Oh, is that a bad thing? Are they a threat to the population of axolotls? The axolotl is native to the freshwater lake. I'm going to learn how to say this. Let me see if it'll pronounce it for me. Xochimilco. Xochimilco is what it sounds like it's saying. The axolotl is native to the freshwater lakes Xochimilco and Chalco in the Valley of Mexico. Although species may have also inhabited the larger lakes of Texcoco and Zumpango. Lake Chalco is an unstable ecosystem, often being drained as a flood control measure. And the other lake is a remnant of its former self, existing mainly as canals. The water temperature in it rarely rises above 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and it may fall to 6 to 7 Celsius or 43 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit or lower in winter. An additional population of Ambystoma inhabiting the artificial lake at Chapultepec was confirmed to contain axolotls. The extent of occurrence as of 23 October 2019 was 467 square kilometers or 180 square miles. Overall, the wild axolotl prefers a system of water channels and deep water lakes abundant with aquatic vegetation. So it seems like in the wild, they're running out of habitats. Like the fact that you can actually name the lakes and water bodies of water that they live in instead of for America, for example, if you were like, where do squirrels live? It's like, well, squirrels are in the trees all across the United States. You don't say they only live in Central Park in New York City, so you can see why they have like a very small ecosystem where they can exist. And I think that's so sad that that their home is just being affected by time, by people, by nature, by other species. It's got to be hard for them. Biology. So the axolotl is a carnivorous, consuming small prey such as mollusks, worms, insects, and other arthropods, and small fish in the wild. Axolotls locate food by smell and will snap at any potential meal, sucking the food into their stomachs with a vacuum force. Also, they're like little Kirby's. They just go and then they eat it. You should, if you haven't seen, look up some videos on YouTube of axolotls eating worms. It's very cute how they grab them. The wild axolotl is thought to reach sexual maturity at 1.5 years of age, with a generation length of about 5.5 years. The development of Neoteny and mole salamanders is thought to have been an adaptation to conditions that did not favor metamorphosis into the terrestrial form. And here's a wild axolotl. I'll open it in a new page. Ooh, what a pretty baby. It almost looks more like a dragon than you would think. Like look at his face. So cute. You can see the gills and then like all of these little speckles. Oh, they're so pretty. Like even the ones that are like the colors aren't like as vibrant or classic. Like I know the pink ones are very desired, but I really like the deeper and darker colored axolotls a lot. Kind of reminds me of like a cheetah print or like a tiger's eye stone. It's really pretty. All right, so threats. So now we're going to hear about things that are a threat to the population of the axolotl. I expect sadness. Axolotls are only native to the Mexican Central Valley. Although the population once extended through most lakes and wetlands in this region, its habitat is now limited to the lake Xochimilco. I don't remember I'm supposed to say the Z. As a result, the expansion of Mexico City and is under pressure from the city's growth. The axolotl is on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List of Threatened Species. Surveys in 1998, 2003, and 2008 found 6,000, 1,000, and 100 axolotls respectively per square kilometer in the lake. A 4-month-long search in 2013 found no surviving individuals in the wild, but 1 month later, 2 were spotted in a network of canals leading from the lake. Oh, that's so few. The lake has poor water quality. Tests revealed a low nitrogen-phosphorus ratio and a high concentration of chlorophyll A, which are indicative of oxygen-poor environment not well suited to axolotls, so there's not a lot of oxygen in the water they can pull to breathe from. This has been caused by the demands of industries such as aquaculture and agriculture in the region, which maintain the water levels of the lake through inputs of partially treated wastewater. Intensively used agricultural pesticides eventually enter the lake through runoff. These pesticides contain chemical compounds that sharply increase mortality in axolotl embryos and larvae. Of the surviving embryos and larvae, there is also an increase in morphological, behavioral, and activity abnormalities. Oh man, so they're saying that even the axolotls that survive, some of them end up with like abnormalities. So, like changes in their morphology, changes in the way that they act. Basically, anytime you have things affecting the quality of life of creatures, it can change their biology and cause damage down the line. That's really sad. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't expect a Wikipedia article about axolotls to be so sad, but you know what? We're in this together. We're going to be okay. With such dramatic reduction in native population, there has been a large loss of genetic diversity. This can be dangerous for the remaining population, causing an increase in inbreeding and a decrease in fitness and adaptive potential. So basically, axolotls that are too closely related will breed because there's not enough axolotls around, and inbreeding definitely causes issues. You can inbreed diseases, abnormalities, and other problems. It's the same reason we don't like to encourage, people to breed with siblings, or when you're breeding animals, like don't breed animals that are too closely related because it can cause problems. Studies found indicators of low interpopulation gene flow and high rates of genetic drift. What is genetic drift? It's a change in the frequency of an existing genome variant in a population due to chance. It's basically certain genes are becoming less and or more occurrent due to this issue. These are likely the result of multiple bottleneck incidents, wherein the number of individuals in the population and its genetic diversity are sharply reduced. The offspring produced after bottleneck events have a greater risk of decreased fitness and are often less capable of adaptation. Several bottleneck events may even lead to extinction. Studies have found high rates of relatedness indicative of inbreeding, which cause an increase in the presence of deleterious or harmful mutations in genes. Okay, so basically all of this is causing problems for the axolotl population. The detection of introgressed tiger salamander DNA in the laboratory axolotl population raises concerns about the suitability of the captive population as an ark for potential reintroduction purposes. Oh, so basically what it seems like this is saying is they're wondering if they can take the lab-raised axolotls that may have better genetics and begin to incorporate them into the wild axolotl population. That's interesting. Yeah, because, if we run out of axolotls in the wild, naturally scientists will want to restore that environment that they used to live with the creatures who used to live there. So they want to increase the axolotl population in the wild. But I wonder how different a wild axolotl's DNA is from a captive axolotl, one that's been raised and bred by, some guy named Steve on YouTube who like breeds cool pets. Like, I wonder how different they are from like an axolotl found in a canal that, you know, bred with their sister or something. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that we may not understand, but hopefully people more knowledgeable than me are really looking at this problem, because I would hate for axolotls to become extinct in the wild and then someday in captivity. Another factor that threatens the population is the introduction of invasive fish species, such as Nile tilapia and the common carp. These fish eat the axolotl's young and compete for their primary source of food. Aw. The presence of these species has changed the behavior of axolotls, causing them to be less active in the effort to avoid predation. So they get scared, they hide, they don't go outside, they don't eat, they become like hikomori. they stay inside their gamer den and they don't do anything, and that's really bad. This reduction in activity greatly impacts the axolotl's foraging and mating opportunities. So, yeah, they don't go out, they don't get delicious, nutritious food, they don't get girlfriends and boyfriends and make little babies. So it's all causing a problem for them. The fungus. Oh, we got a bad fungus. I apologize. As the mushroom elf, I apologize. Ooh, this name. Okay, let's try. So this fungus has been detected in axolotls. Batrachochytrium or chytrium? Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis. I dare you to dare you to try and see if you can say that better. So this fungus, we're gonna go BD. BD has been detected in axolotls. It's a fungus that causes chytridiomycosis in amphibians. It's an infectious disease that makes something bad happen. I suppose it kills them, maybe. It's a major concern for amphibian conservation worldwide. However, the axolotl displays resistance to both the that and B salamandrivorans. Yes, that word. So, chytridiomycosis is thought to not be a threat to this species. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's good then. So the fungus, it might be bad for some amphibians, but it looks like it's not really affecting the axolotls or causing harm because they're resistant to it. So, score 1 for fungus. So, conservation efforts. So, what are we doing to help? There has been little improvement in the conditions of the population of native axolotls over the years. Many scientists are focusing their conservation efforts on the translocation of captive bred individuals into new habitats or reintroduction into Lake Xochimilco. Studies have shown that captive bred axolotls that are raised in semi-natural environments can catch prey, survive in the wild, and have moderate success in escaping predators. Okay, so they're moderately successful at escaping predators, the captive bred ones. These captive bred individuals can be introduced into unpolluted bodies of water or back into Lake Xochimilco. However, with the current state of pollution, urbanization, and predators within the lake, the captive bred individuals may eventually have the same fate as the wild population. Okay, so they're not having a ton of luck yet. Oh, okay. Here's a Spanish word. Let me try. The Laboratorio de Rest Restoration. Oh, restoration ecologica. Laboratory of Ecological Restoration of the National Autonomous University of Mexico has built up a population of 100 captive bred individuals as of 2021. These axolotls are mostly used for research, but there are plans to establish a viable population of axolotls within a semi-artificial wetland inside the university. Oh, that's a cool idea. Like an inside ecosystem. I'm feeling very like Pokopia inspired by this section right now. A 2025 study confirmed the viability of releasing captive bred axolotls into the wild, with recaptured animals putting on weight since their release. However, this practice risks the loss of axolotls through predation, as several released axolotls were preyed upon by great egrets. Oh, no. So, I guess the egrets are eating the captive axolotls. It says the recaptured ones are getting kind of chunky, so I guess the egrets are like, yo, there's snacks here. And they're kind of foiling the scientists' attempts at rebuilding the population. It seems like axolotls really can't catch a break right now with what's going on with them. Poor babies. Okay. So now we can read about their relation to humans. Oh, that's right, because we read earlier that their genes, I guess, are somewhat similar to ours. Here, I'm gonna drink some water real quick. I'm keeping hydrated. Hmm. Also, this might be silly, but since Mexicans, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Since axolotls come from Mexico, I actually had Mexican food for my dinner today. Totally was not a coincidence that a place by me had enchiladas, like cheese enchiladas. Like, not a coincidence at all that that happened. It was totally planned. And it was so good, and I'm still thinking about it. I wish I could tell you where I went, but since my life is important to me, I will just say it was Mexican food and it was delicious. Yeah, it was super good. Okay. So, relation to humans. So, Alexander von Humboldt noted that Mexicans, having been vanquished by the Spanish Empire, lived in great want, compelled to feed on roots of aquatic plants, insects, and a problematical reptile called the axolotl. Oh, so Alexander von Humboldt was saying that Mexican people were eating axolotls? Did they really? 6 adult axolotls, including one of the pink ones, were shipped from Mexico City to Jardin des Plantes in Paris in 1863, unaware of their neoteny, the fact that they don't transformed, or they do transform. Auguste Dumeril was surprised when instead of the axolotl, he found in the vivarium a new species similar to the salamander. Oh, so one of them morphed on the trip from Mexico City to Paris. And they were like, oh, what happened? This discovery was the starting point of research about neoteny. It is not certain that the Abystoma Velasquez specimens were not included in the original shipment. Willem Lofberger in Prague used thyroid hormone injections to induce an axolotl to grow into a terrestrial adult salamander. The experiment was repeated by Englishman Julian Huxley, who was unaware the experiment had already been done using ground thyroids. Since then, experiments have often been done with injections of iodine or various thyroid hormones used to induce metamorphosis. Cool. So I guess when scientists first saw them, they were like, what happened? And how do I make this happen myself? And they started experimenting with axolotls and thyroid hormones. Very cool. So, use as a model organism. Today, the axolotl is still used in research as a model organism, and large numbers are bred in captivity. They're especially easy to breed compared to other salamanders in their family, which are rarely captive bred due to the husbandry demands of terrestrial life. Basically, it's easier to make them have babies because other types of salamanders, they want too much. Their standards are too high to make babies, so they use axolotls. One attractive feature for research is the large and easily manipulated embryo, which allows viewing of the full development of the vertebrae. I guess that's why we have this picture here of like the stages of the axolotl. Here, I'll zoom it out like that, like developing. Oh, you can see the division of the cells. I think that's what we're looking at, right? Because that's how human embryos develop too. Like cells start to divide and divide and divide and divide more and more and more until you can't really see them with the naked eye. And then it forms the baby. Although this kind of looks like it's forming into like a pistachio. It looks like a pistachio. Here it's a baseball, then it's a pistachio. Interesting. Okay, so I guess it's easy to see the formation of it. Kind of like baby sharks, if you've ever seen a mermaid's purse before. Those are those little, I guess a shark fetus inside of these little things. I don't know what they're actually called, but we used to call them mermaid purses because, you know, I lived in a beachy area for quite some time, and sometimes they'd wash up on shore. But if you hold a light up to those, you can also see the development of the embryo inside of those too. So really, really cool for study purposes. Axolotls are used in heart defect studies due to the presence of a mutant gene that causes heart failure in embryos. Since the embryos survive almost to hatching with no heart function, the defect is very observable. Further research has been conducted to examine their heart as a model of a single human ventricle. A ventricle is one of two large chambers toward the bottom of the heart. Oh, okay, cool. And excessive trabeculation. I like that word. I don't know what it means, but I like that word. Trabeculation. The axolotl is also considered an ideal animal model for the study of neural tube closure due to similarities between human and axolotl neural plate and tube formation. A neural tube. What is that? The embryonic precursor to the central nervous system made up of the brain and spinal cord. Oh, okay. So theirs is similar to ours. Oh, that's weird. The axolotl's neural tube, unlike a frog's, is not hidden under a layer of superficial epithelium tissue. We learned that word means like tissue. There are also mutations affecting other organ systems, some of which are not well characterized yet, so we're still learning. The regenerative abilities of the axolotl have led to its use as a model for the development of limbs in vertebrates, with the goal of understanding how humans can achieve better ways to heal from serious injuries. They also leave the species as the perfect model to study the process of stem cells and neoteny. Current research can record specific examples of these regenerative properties through tracking cell fates and behaviors, lineage tracing, skin triploid cell grafts, pigmentation imaging, electroporation, tissue clearing, and lineage tracing from dye labeling. So there's a lot of ways that they can use them for regeneration studies. The newer technologies of germ-line modification and transgenesis are better suited for live imaging the regenerative process that occur for axolotls. So, one of you may better understand this section than me, but basically they're able to use them to kind of study how their bodies use regeneration in ways that maybe we can use that in the future. I know that animal studies or animals in labs is a very a controversial subject and absolutely warranted to be controversial. So I'm not offering an opinion by reading this, just sort of explaining the way that things have been working. So just so you guys know, I love axolotls and I want them all to be happy, but I do have an understanding of, or some of an understanding of, how they've been useful to the human race and the medicinal field and things like that. So, no opinion, but I love them and I want them all to be happy. In a 2025 study, scientists found a new way to insert and activate the genes inside the axolotl's brain and nervous system using a special harmless virus called adeno-associated viruses. Before this, it was hard for researchers to make specific genes work inside the axolotl. But this discovery allows them to explore how the axolotl's nervous system helps it regrow body parts, like its brain and spinal cord. Additionally, they found the axolotl's nervous system has a unique two-way communication between the brain and eye. And I think the human eye, I don't know what it is. Maybe one of you would know, but I know that the human eye is very interesting in that supposedly something about the human eye and our body not supposed to know our eye exists or our body will attack our eye. Don't quote me on it, but I remember hearing about something like that. So if an axolotl's eye and brain communicate in a unique way, maybe that's something that we can study because maybe our bodies don't quite work that way. But I could be wrong, but I think I remember something like that. The genetics of the color variants of the axolotl have also been widely studied. Beautiful, and I'm sure that breeders are also studying that by trying to make cuter and cuter axolotls. Okay, so captive care. So the axolotl is a popular exotic pet. Oh, the photo for exotic pet is a hamster. So cute. Bet you didn't know hamsters are exotic pets. Ooh. They are, and they're very adorable and often not properly cared for, like a lot of exotic animals. So it's an exotic pet, just like its relative, the tiger salamander. As for all poikilothermic organisms, lower temperatures result in slower metabolism and a potentially dangerously reduced appetite. Oh, this is a new word for us. Let's see what it means. Poikilotherm or poikilothermic. So a poikilotherm is an animal whose internal temperature varies considerably. They have to survive and adapt to environmental stress. One of the most important stressors is outer environment temperature change. So they're very sensitive to their environment and how it affects them. That makes a lot of sense. Temperatures at 16 degrees Celsius or 61 degrees Fahrenheit to 18 Celsius or 64 Fahrenheit are suggested for captive axolotls to ensure sufficient food intake. So they have to be in quite cold water. I know 61 to 64 isn't considered a cold temperature if you think about it. Like if you go outside during this, you might be like, oh, it's a little chilly, it's not cold. But when water is a cooler temperature than your body, you can really feel that difference if you dipped your finger into it. So, reasonably cool water is what they need. Stress resulting from more than a day's exposure to lower temperatures may quickly lead to disease and death, and temperatures higher than 24°C or 75 Fahrenheit may lead to metabolic rate increase, causing stress and eventually death. Chlorine, commonly added to tap water, is harmful to axolotls. Oh yes, this is true of like fish and other creatures as well. That's why if you ever get a goldfish, tropical fish, any kind of creature where you're going to be giving it water and it's very sensitive, you need to dechlorinate the water that you use. Like I have a tank of isopods I got recently, and I add dechlorinator to their water that I spritz their enclosure with because they're very sensitive little guys, and chlorine and harsh metals in our tap water might not be the best thing for them. So this is super important too if you have an axolotl. you need to dechlorinate their water. A single axolotl typically requires an 150-liter or 40 US gallon tank. Axolotls spend a majority of their time at the bottom of their tanks. So they have a pretty big tank requirement. 40 gallons is quite large when you think about like the amount of space that you need. Also, if you think about how much a 40-gallon tank is going to weigh when it's completely full of water. Um, so it is a financial and a time sink to set up a good enclosure for an axolotl. So hence why I have not done it yet, but I'd love to do it someday. In captivity, axolotls eat a variety of readily available foods, including trout and salmon pellets, frozen or live bloodworms, earthworms, and waxworms. Axolotls can also eat feeder fish, but care should be taken as fish may contain parasites. So you want to be careful what you feed them because they're sensitive little babies. Substrates, so this is what you put at the bottom of your tank, are another important consideration for captive axolotls, as axolotls, like other amphibians and reptiles, tend to ingest bedding material with food. So if it's eating something off the ground, you don't want to give it a substrate that, if it gets into their body, could make them sick or kill them. They're commonly prone to gastrointestinal obstruction and foreign body ingestion. So typically, they're going to eat things they shouldn't, and they're going to get blocked up. So you need to do what you can to give them good substrate. Some common substrates used for animal enclosures can be harmful for amphibians and reptiles, like gravel, common in aquariums, should not be used. And it's recommended that any sand consists of smooth particles with a grain size under 1 millimeter. One guide to axolotl care for laboratories notes that bowel obstructions are a common cause of death and recommends that no items with a diameter below 3 centimeters or the size of the animal's head should be available to the animal. So you've got to be real careful what you put in there because they will try and eat it. And then that will not be good for them. There is some evidence that axolotls might seek out appropriately sized gravel to use as gastroliths, based on experiments conducted at the University of Manitoba Axolotl Colony. Gastroliths. I've heard of this term before. A gastrolith, also called a stomach stone or gizzard stone, is a rock held inside the gastrointestinal tract. They use it to grind food if they don't have teeth. Oh, I feel like, isn't there a type of bird that does this? Yeah, some crocodiles, alligators, herbivorous birds, seals, and sea lions will purposely swallow stones. Oh, it looks like ostriches do too. It helps them digest stuff. That's super interesting. Oh, that's cool. So there's some evidence that they might have those qualities, but it seems like there's no conclusive evidence pointing to gastrolith use, so you should avoid gravel. Okay, so you're saying there could be a chance that them eating stones is like a thing they do, but since they get stuck so often, just don't let them have rocks. No rock for the baby. Salts, such as Holt-Fretter solution, are often added to the water to prevent infection. Oh, I used to do this for my fish. I would put a little bit of a salt solution in my goldfish tank, and they didn't get sick very often. It was a very small amount, but it can help fight off some infections and things like that. Kind of like if you get dental work done, sometimes the dentist will say, when you get home, like if you have discomfort, rinse your mouth with like warm salt water. Same kind of thing. Salt can be helpful as a natural sort of disinfectant for certain things. Among hobbyists, the process of artificially inducing metamorphosis can result in death during or even following a successful attempt. And so casual hobbyists are generally discouraged from attempting to induce metamorphosis in pet axolotls. Morphed pet axolotls should be given a solid foothold in their enclosure to satisfy their need for land. They should not be given live animals as food. Yeah, I remember a Reddit thread of someone whose axolotl morphed and they didn't know what was happening and they posted about it. And so, if that was true, then that person was trying to make the right steps to make sure their axolotl didn't die from just being stuck in the water, because eventually they can't breathe out of the water anymore if they do morph. So, very cool. Okay, so we learned they're sensitive babies who try and kill themselves by eating rocks. Wonderful. Good information. Okay, cultural significance. Okay, we knew there was gonna be a Minecraft baby in here, because I'm sure a lot of you guys, when you saw that there was an axolotl video, you were like, Minecraft. That was like the first thing that popped into your head. So, cultural significance. So, the species is named after the Aztec deity, and I'm gonna click this and listen to how it's said again. Xolotl is what it sounds like it's saying. Xolotl. So, if anyone is Mexican in the comments, or I don't do Aztecs still exist? I'm not sure actually. I don't know. When I think of Aztec, I think of like the ancient people. So I'm not to a full understanding of people who identify as Aztec, or if that's still a thing. I should learn about that. But the species is named after the Aztec deity Chol Chol Choltol Cholotl, the god of fire and lightning, who transformed himself into an axolotl to avoid being sacrificed by fellow gods. They continue to play an outsized cultural role in Mexico. For example, axolotls appear in the works of Mexican muralist Diego Rivera. There we see some pretty graffiti there. In 2021, Mexico released a new design for its 50 peso banknote featuring an axolotl, along with maize, which is like corn, and chinampas, small areas of crops and shallow beds. Oh, cute. On its back. It was recognized as Banknote of the Year by the International Banknote Society. Oh, go Mexico. That's really cool. Yeah, I love art like this very, very much. A lot of cities that I've gone to, when you go into like the city, have a lot of like mural and or I wouldn't really call this like graffiti. I feel like the term graffiti is normally associated with unwanted art, but I've heard it used interchangeably for just art that covers like a wall. But mural, I think, would fit this a little bit better. But this is really pretty. I love the textures and everything used and like all of the colors. It's very psychedelic. I adore it. For some reason, we've got a Converse logo up here and some other ones, but he's a cutie pie. I like his eyes. He's like, I have lived. I have seen bad things. Okay. In Japan, the creatures are commonly known as whooper loopers. Whooper loopers. Following a 1980s marketing campaign by Nissan Foods featuring an axolotl with that name, Whooper Looper. In 1999, Pokemon Gold and Silver, made by Japanese developer Game Freak, introduced the Pokemon Whooper, which is directly based on an axolotl. Yay! Whooper! Shadow whoop! Additionally, in 2002, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire introduced the Pokemon Mudkip and its evolutions, which take some visual inspiration from axolotls. I would agree, Mudkip and Whooper, total axolotl energy. Starting in the late 20th and early 21st century, axolotls became renowned as a cultural icon, with the species likeness appearing in or inspiring various aspects of contemporary media, such as TV shows, movies, or video games. Following Mojang Studios' trend of adding endangered species to the game to raise awareness, oh, I didn't know that's why they did that. Axolotls were added to the video game Minecraft in 2020, depicted as troglofauna in the game. Troglofauna, small cave-dwelling animals. Oh, cute! And were included in its spin-offs, Minecraft Dungeons and Lego Minecraft. The dragon toothless in How to Train Your Dragon was modeled after axolotls as well? Really? Oh. Oh, I guess so. Wait, toothless is like an axolotl? Let me see. Do they have a picture of him in here? In the wiki article? Really? Really? No picture of how to train? Hold on. Maybe if I go and click on like I'm in the series. Maybe if I click on the first movie? Let me see. How to Train Your Dragon. There we go. You know what? I think I could see it. I think I could see it. Yeah, with the little head, the ears, and the gills. I you know what? I could see it. I could see it, especially with the dark colors. Although the eyes are very big compared to the tiny beady eyes in Axolotl, but that's cool. I did not know that. It says Julio Cortazar wrote a book titled Axolotl, and HD 224693, a star in the equatorial constellation of Cetus, was named Axolotl in 2019. So there's a lot of axolotls in media, and there's a lot of sources here too. Of course, Wikipedia having a million, a million sources, which is honestly really really great that they do that. Okay, so axolotls. So what have we learned by reading through this article? And by the by, I'm normally like when I'm not reading things out to you, I'm normally quite a quick reader, but I think sometimes reading things aloud can be helpful when it comes to understanding advanced concepts. Like, admittedly, there's still a lot about genetics and like animal kingdoms and all these things that I don't quite understand. I guess I'm not incredibly educated in this kind of science, but like I I did learn a lot by reading through this. I had no idea that axolotls were as endangered as they are, that they're dealing with inbreeding and pollution. I didn't know that they could regenerate parts of their brain, that they could end up with extra limbs. Um, I didn't know they were as sensitive as they are. Because I was warned when you get them as a pet, like you need to be prepared for very specific conditions, but I really didn't have any idea. Um, I also didn't know that their metamorphosis deals with thyroid hormones. And like I said before, one of the big things about myself was finding out this past year that I had a thyroid disorder or a thyroid disease called Hashimoto's, and I take levothyroxine, which is a thyroid hormone, I believe, every morning when I get up. And that helps me to function. So I kind of, in a weird way, I feel a little bit closer to axolotls as a species because we have something in common, which is kind of cool. Um, I am sad that their environment is so small. I do think it's beautiful that they come from Mexico, that if you are someone who's from Mexico, you can have pride that there's this adorable little creature that came from the same place that you did. I think that that's really cool. To find that connection. I think they're all adorable. I still definitely want one someday, especially with the fact that they're such an endangered species. And so having one and caring for it well, you're providing life for this creature that not that many exist in the wild. But like I said, I do want to wait till a day when I've got more like of a space, when I have a home, when I have money to dedicate. You know, I gotta have a nice big tank, so it's not something I would do now, but I'm curious if any of you listening, do you have an axolotl? Have you ever had one? Do you know someone who has one? Do you have any interesting axolotl stories? I would love to learn them. I If anyone puts anything in the comments, I'll be sure to stop by and check it out and read and reply. And I'd also like to know if you found this style of video interesting. I don't expect that many people to enjoy a video of a girl reading a Wikipedia article and offering her personal thoughts and opinions, and also mispronouncing Mexican and scientific words. But I did have fun with it. I did find it relaxing. Um, it was nice to just take some time and spend like an hour learning something new. So if you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate if you let me know. Like the video, leave a comment, say something kind if you can. Um, and if you are interested in seeing me do this again, maybe let me know what wiki articles might be kind of fun to go through. Keep in mind the subject matter when it comes to YouTube. We don't want to read anything that's too sussy, because YouTube can't really handle sussy topics, or at least right now. But I'll do my best with what I can. But thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in another video. Okay? Okay. MissFushi loves you.